What's up, Random Phantom? How's it going? Hope you guys are doing well. Today we're about to get into part 2 of my video of originals versus remakes. Let's get into the video and we'll talk about them, and hopefully you guys enjoy this. So let's go. First up is the Ten Commandments. We got the original with Cecil B. DeMille directing, and then we have the Ten Commandments from 1956, also directed by Cecil B. DeMille, and then we have the Prince of Egypt. We'll say all three of these are pretty fantastic, but the one negative with the 1923 version of the Ten Commandments, half of it is the Ten Commandments, and then the other half is like a more modern story of the Ten Commandments taking place in modern day. It's very interesting. I won't say it's bad, but it's a little off-putting because when I first saw it, I was like, But I will say the best version of the Ten Commandments is this, with this coming in second and this coming in third. So yeah, all three of them are great. Usually that's not the case. So, and then up next is the Sherlock Jr. with Buster Keaton. We have up first, we have Sherlock Holmes and the Voice of Terror. Then we have The Great Mouse Detective, all based off of Sherlock. And then we have Sherlock Holmes from Guy Ritchie with Robert Downey Jr. We'll say version is pretty great. This one with Basil Rathbone, I will say, is probably a great time to watch. It definitely has that tone of the 40s, and man, is it great. This one is pretty much nostalgia for me. I really enjoy it, but this one, I will say, is the best of all of them, even though, you have great tones with all these series of Sherlock Holmes movies. And there's a whole lot more that I have yet to see from the 40s and 50s. But yeah, this version of Sherlock Holmes, I adore. I know it's probably a bit controversial, but hey, it's just me. Up next is Peter Pan. We have Peter Pan from 1924. This version, seriously, I was not expecting how good this was. There's so much that goes on, and even though it's a silent film, it's still pretty fantastic. Then we have the Peter Pan from Disney, such a classic. We have the musical Peter Pan starring Mary Martin as Peter Pan. This is one of those where I have huge nostalgia for it because it's it's got a tone that's just hilarious. And then we have Hook with Robin Williams. It's so good. You get such a great tone. Steven Spielberg directing, Robin Williams as Peter Pan. Then you have Peter Pan from 2003 with Jeremy Sumpter as Peter Pan. This is kind of an underrated flick, and it deserves more recognition. And then we have Pan from 2015 with Hugh Jackman. We don't want to talk about that one, do we? But I would say definitely the best version out of them all is kind of hard to say. I would say Hook. It's more of a sequel, but it's still Peter Pan. But I would say Peter Pan from 1953 is the best. But with Peter Pan from 1924, people really need to see that version because it is fantastic. I don't know if people have seen this version, but it's pretty good too. But the 2003 version is seriously underrated. It's so underrated. Then we have Phantom of the Opera. Definitely from 1925. I know there's a lot more versions of the Phantom of the Opera, but I've only seen the 1925 and the 2004. Definitely would say this one was actually a good watch. It was pretty cool to see, but I absolutely adore the Joel Schumacher version of the Phantom of the Opera. It's just one of those things where the quality is amazing. And then we have Napoleon by Abel Gance from 1927. We have The Duelist with Ridley Scott. These two films are just fantastic. I wouldn't know where to say which one is better, but if I had to choose, definitely would be Napoleon. Napoleon is just one of those films that you just get the bang for your buck every single time. Up next is Joan of Arc. We got the original from 1900, very long time ago. And then we have the 1928, The Passion of Joan of Arc from 1928 with Maria Falconetti. This version is the best. Like, I know there's other movies, but those I haven't seen. I'm not going to do those because I haven't seen them. But with The Passion of Joan of Arc, seriously, this film is grueling and just hard to watch of just how great it is. Up next is Nosferatu or Dracula. Such like the whole Nosferatu story is fantastic. The 1922 is great. You have the Todd Browning Dracula from 1931 with Bela Lugosi. You have Dracula from 1992 with Francis Ford Coppola and Gary Oldman. You got the the spoof Dracula, Dead and Loving It. You have Van Helsing with Stephen Sommers and Hugh Jackman. You have Hotel Transylvania with Adam Sandler. And you have Dracula Untold from 2014 with Luke Evans. And I will say, this version and this version are both absolutely fantastic. So I would definitely say it's a tie between these two. Nosferatu, I highly recommend. Dracula from 1931, I highly recommend too. Like, they're such classics. This version is pretty intense and very interesting. It's definitely underrated. Not as good as the other two, but it's definitely underrated, and it is good. Not great, but it's good. You got Dracula, Dead and Loving It. I mean, hey, it's Mel Brooks, but for me, it didn't work. This movie is actually entertaining, even though it's not that great. And Hotel Transylvania, it's a fun time. You got Dracula Untold. It's fine for what it is. You have The Mummy next, the original from 1932, Boris Karloff. Then we have The Mummy from 1999 with Brendan Fraser, and then we have The Mummy from Alex Kurtzman with Tom Cruise. This movie is just trash, but I will say I absolutely adore and love this movie. The original is the best. And I know a lot of people like and love this movie. I like it too. I'm just more of a bigger fan of The Mummy from the 1930s. So Scarface is next. The original from 1932. Not a lot of people know that Scarface from 1983 is actually a remake of this movie. And it is so good. Both are great, and I highly recommend both. But I prefer the 1983 version, but I absolutely adore the 1932 version as well. And then we have King Kong as the final entry in part 2. We have the 1933 version, which is just fantastic. We have the Son of Kong, the sequel to King Kong, which is kind of interesting. We have Godzilla King vs. King Kong, the original from 1962. We have the 1976 version of King Kong with Jeff Bridges. Not a lot of people know about this one, but more people should, because it was surprising. I wasn't expecting to like it, and I did like it. This is the best version of King Kong from 2005 with Peter Jackson. Come on. It's Peter Jackson coming off of Lord of the Rings. You have Kong Skull Island, which is a fun time. And then we have Godzilla vs. Kong from this year. Man, this movie was so great in IMAX, but I will say the 2005 version is the best version, with King Kong from 1933. Pretty great. But yeah, all of them are just a fun time, one time watch with some of them. So, but yeah, King Kong 1933, King Kong 2005, with 2005 edging out 1933. Such a good time with all. And that was part 2 of my video of originals versus remakes. Just want to let you guys know, if you are new here, that you guys can go check out my channel for other videos like these. I have top 10s, I have movie reviews, trailer reactions, video reactions, and a bunch of other film-related content on the channel. If you are new to subscribing, you can go ahead and click the bell to get notified of future videos. And if you are a returning subscriber, I seriously appreciate you. And I just want to let you guys know, I have a Patreon if you would like to support me over there. I give early access to videos and a bunch of other content. I have a Twitter where I talk about movie news, give updates to the vids, and bunch of other stuff. I have a Discord as well if you'd like to follow me there and join, because you can interact with me and a bunch of other people. So I just want to say one last time, I appreciate you guys. Stay random.